Geomma survives forbidden magic, but the aftermath follows him into noble territory. Spoiler warning, because we are covering the Academy assault and the family politics arc that follows it. Ssipeomeokeum is a background extra trapped inside a fantasy game world, but the blessing of the Blade God turns his precision into a weapon no normal student should have. That power keeps saving him, but it also keeps exposing him. Now masked enemies, vessel experiments, Academy casualties, and Akane's powerful family all start circling the same question. What exactly is Geomma becoming? The night starts under a cold moon, with several figures arguing over a woman tied to Medusa and Medea. The question is ugly. Should she be killed, protected, or controlled before she becomes a larger threat? A masked figure warns against becoming a murderer, but the enemy side pushes judgment and corruption until red-black power starts spreading through the darkness. Then Medea steps forward, and the mood flips. Her opponents treat her like some ruined legend past her prime, but that arrogance is a mistake. Green energy erupts around her, sharp and overwhelming, and she cuts through masked attackers while the others scramble to understand what just happened. The fight bleeds into dark academy halls, and then the story jumps to a brighter spring scene at Jokin Academy, where a green-haired girl approaches a white-haired boy, like the past is quietly walking into the present. That calm does not hold. The academy becomes a maze of shadows as masked and hooded figures move through dark interiors, and the defenders realize too late that this is not a random break-in. Someone calls out in panic. Red slashes tear through hallways. Strange enemies discuss vessels, targets, and the academy's system with the confidence of people who already know what they came for. That is the scary part. They are not just here to kill students. They are searching for candidates and weaknesses inside the so-called Golden Generation. Ssipeomeokeum is eventually dragged into the center of the conflict, because his blessing of the Sword God is exactly the kind of power the attackers want to understand or break. Fire, ice blue light, green force, and red attacks collide, until a hooded professor-like figure appears through a blue barrier and the whole battlefield shifts again. The assault keeps tightening around Geomma, and now the battlefield feels less like chaos and more like a ritual with rules nobody has explained. Masked enemies, blue-armored defenders, and a green-haired fighter clash, while words like vessel candidates and mind's eye hang over the fight. A professor-like figure steps into the pressure, but the enemies do not crumble just because an adult arrives. One purple-skinned or masked opponent mocks the situation, and a disciplinary command sends dark power rippling through the battlefield. Geomma becomes impossible to ignore. Enemies recognize him, measure him, and push the conflict toward Damien, Clady, and a chilling claim over Clady's head. Then, almost absurdly, the violence gives way to a lighter aftermath, where Abel reacts dramatically to online posts and prepares more Abel gang content, which is funny until you remember what the Academy just survived. Okay, this is where Geomma stops fighting like a normal swordsman. In the ruined Academy Hall, the green-haired enemy keeps using explosion magic, but Geomma does not only dodge the blast. He studies it. Time feels stretched while he deciphers the spell, and then he sees the line connecting the caster to the explosion. So he makes the cleanest, strangest decision possible. He cuts the connection. The enemy cannot accept it. He calls it coincidence, gathers more teal-green power, and tries to force the explosion again. But Geomma's sword god-related resonance and transference keep turning the spell against its own logic. Watch what he does next. He treats magic like something with a seam, and once he finds that seam, the whole attack starts falling apart. Afterward, the masked group realizes his growth is frightening, and a red-haired subordinate decides he wants to become Geomma's shadow. The battle ends, but the damage stays in the room. Bodies or wounded figures lie across the ruined interior, and a blue-skinned or masked figure near Geomma comments on his unbelievable talent like it is both praise and warning. That hits hard because Geomma has been growing by surviving impossible situations, and now everyone can see how fast he is changing. Soon the academy tries to return to normal structure: classrooms, professors, break time, punishment, responsibility, student rankings. But Geomma's mind is not normal. He has killed enemies to protect others, and even if the logic makes sense, the weight still follows him. Akane and other Academy figures argue over responsibility and whether school life can continue after something this violent. By the time the first year closes and winter vacation passes, Geomma is pulled toward a meeting connected to the Nebulung family. The story slows down, but it does not relax. Akane prepares to leave the academy, and everything about her feels conflicted. The quiet phone checking, the lonely pauses, the way she avoids explaining where she is going. Then the Nebulung family formally asks Geomma to accompany her home. He agrees, and that simple answer carries more weight than a normal school trip should. The classmates still bring comedy into it, teasing, arguing, and crowding onto the bus together, but Akane's homesickness keeps cutting through the noise. She does not want to expose her destination, and the others sense there is more behind her return than vacation. When the trip points toward the United States, the next arc changes shape. This is no longer just Geomma leaving campus with friends. He is walking straight into Akane's family world. When Geomma and Akane arrive, the scale of her family becomes impossible to ignore. A white-haired elder greets Akane as her grandfather, luxury cars wait outside, and black-suited attendants treat her return like the arrival of someone tied to real power. Geomma watches the scene carefully, because Akane's embarrassment does not erase what the setting is screaming. The Nebulung family is not ordinary. The estate itself feels like a castle, and Geomma is politely drawn deeper inside. Sharon, a butler-like guide, turns the visit into a structured tour, but the surface hospitality keeps hiding heavier conversations. Older family figures discuss whether Akane really has to go through with something serious, and nobody says enough for Geomma to understand the full threat. Then night comes, and Akane appears at his door, asking to come in. Akane's late-night visit turns awkward fast, because she and Geomma are close enough to make the household start whispering. They sit together while she tries to explain herself, and then the estate machinery quietly starts moving around them. Her grandfather warns that even stunning people should choose men wisely, which sounds funny until you realize everyone here is evaluating Geomma. Sharon receives instructions. Staff discuss reports and signs. Akane gets flustered when her closeness with Geomma is treated like a family matter. She tries to frame the next outing as a simple walk, but everyone around her hears date, and honestly, she does not help her case. But here is the thing. The back half turns darker. A masked spear saint named Richard de Murat appears in a separate noble family thread, with Rachel de Murat and old orders pointing toward a conflict bigger than romance comedy. The tone snaps back into danger with a dark fight between a red-haired masked fighter and a blue-white armored opponent. Red and blue slashes crash at close range, and the masked fighter seems calm enough to provoke while attacking. Then the political shock lands. An older white-haired authority figure hears that a general is dead, and the reaction says this should not have happened naturally. Another figure discusses the situation in a dark room, making the death feel suspicious, planned, and dangerous. The red-haired masked fighter returns wounded, but instead of panicking, he criticizes the older man for losing composure with age and calmly lights a cigarette-like object before leaving. That confidence is nasty. Meanwhile, the story appears to shift back toward Akane and Geomma's date-like outing, but the timing is unclear enough to feel deliberate. Peace is nearby, but violence is already moving underneath it. What makes this stretch work is the contrast. Geomma can cut through a spell by finding its connection, but he cannot simply cut through guilt, family politics, or suspicious deaths. The Academy attack proves his talent is growing too fast to hide, and the Nebulung estate proves power is not only measured in combat. It is servants, elders, bloodlines, reputations, and secrets spoken behind closed doors. Akane's return home looks like a personal trip, then slowly becomes a political trap, with Geomma standing beside her. The next danger may not come as an obvious monster. It may come through a family obligation, a dead general, or someone deciding Geomma is too dangerous to leave alone. Subscribe for the next recap, because Geomma's quiet trip just became a noble family powder keg.